Steve?
I'm looking at my chart here, and there are 3 U.S. and 3 corresponding PCT applications that we wrote. Then there's a PCT video playback. That was the video playback convention.
Right.
And I think that's all.
Great. Let's get those out to Jim real quick. I'd like him reviewing those by the 8-10 day. Any changes, we're obviously going to try to revert to keep our 8-10 day as our commercialization day, giving us a little buffer if we're wrong.
Alrighty.
You know what I mean? I mean, because we don't know how people will interpret in the end what Centrac was, right? But to beat it would definitely give us a greater argument.
Yep.
So, all right, we'll pick this up. You're going to make those changes on this patent, correct?
I'm going to wait until I speak with Doug.
Okay, great. So
I know it was actually filed, and then we'll decide how best to proceed with amending that.
Steve, one more clarification. Did you say we have or have not had successful closure on the signing over of inventors' patents to the company?
I can't see that. Doug is working on that.
Okay, will you put that in your list of things to do? Or your strategy that gets completed?
Yeah.
yeah, and B, I just signed, as well as Brian and Jude and everybody, large thickets of documents. So Doug should have an update, Steve, as to what is exactly signed. I think it was everything, correct? And we got everybody here, so.
Yeah, I've got emails that indicate that was all done 9 months ago.
No, it was, B, but then we filed patents. And then we thought the past was done, and now these new ones had to be done. So he came here, there was notaries here, it was, you know,
Okay.
it was a lot, but let's get an update on it.
In addition to that,
You want to see it in writing?
in addition to that, everyone has individually signed a separate agreement with the company conveying, assigning to the company any intellectual property that's created as a result of their employment.
That I know.
So,
The key inventions, I just want to see that they're signed over. Because that's the value of the company right there. That's what I own stock in.
Correct. Okay. So let's get an update. But I think we're pretty close.
Okay.
Okay.
Elliot, why don't we go through the list of things that you've asked me to do so we can be perfectly clear on this?
Okay.
The first is to amend Ray's PCT application, at least the claims,
Right.
so that we have a good filing there, at least based on whatever Ray has in the specification. That's task number 1.
Claims plus any additional language, that's not new matter.
Right?
Okay.
We want a letter describing the, what was omitted or what was incorrect in this application filed Wednesday. And to what extent that may have any bearing on rights.
Correct.
And also a course of action if we feel that it's necessary to file a new application to amend these, to make these corrections, or if it's something we feel that we can do in an amendment that would not introduce new matter.
And our strategy going forward on this, and by the way, that would mean our strategy as well on the video, correct? Because if there needs to be changes and the date did stick at 8/10, we need to make any changes we find by 8/10, correct?
Only if the changes are so substantial that they would most of the details as we've done very detailed jobs throughout.
No, I agree. I agree. I see all that here.
Based on whatever we can get out of you guys in terms of describing how it works. If that's in there and it describes the claim, then there's an error, or there's an error in the math. Well, will that dramatically affect? Will that make it so that somebody can't practice the invention at all?
Right.
I don't know.
So if it's critical, by 8:10, it should be resolved. Correct.
Oh, with the video applications, it doesn't help for us to go back and look at those. You guys go back and look at those and see if there's anything in there that you don't like.
Right. And if we find something in the claim, for example, that we don't like, we need to amend it by 8:10, right?
No.
Why?
Because the claims have to be supported by the specification that's filed back on those dates, which were sometime in June.
Okay, but let's say all that fits. We also have the commercialization date.
But the commercialization date,
That doesn't relate to the claims. That relates to the specification.
So we can go change the claims.
We can change
and the claims throughout prosecution, as long as they're still supported by the specifications filed.
Right, so if we find any mistakes, we should change them, correct? In the video patents?
Yeah, as a general principle, that's a good idea.
Okay, good. All right, I think that sums up what we need. Send the letter to Cy, myself, and Brian.
That's not a complete list of what you asked for me.
What else we got? Sorry.
Okay. You've asked me to email to Jim Armstrong the 3 video applications and the playback application, the 1 playback application.
Right.
Now, with respect to the video applications, we have both PCT and U.S. filings. Do you want us to send both of those? I mean, they're essentially identical. In fact, they are identical, except the formal paperwork goes along with them.
Just one.
So the U.S.
All right, we'll send the U.S. versions of those too. And we'll fax the figures. And item number 4 is to provide a written letter to Jim Armstrong regarding the assignment status of...
Well, that's to everybody. That's to Brian, Cy, myself, Jim.
Brian, Cy, Eliot, and Jim.
Right. Just giving us the update of where we are.
I think it's something we need to communicate to all shareholders.
Well, let's get it first, and then we'll
That's what I mean.
communicate at discretion. But I think we're there.
Okay. And then in terms of general things going forward, Eliot needs to be CC'd on all correspondence relating to patents. Now, should we continue our practice of sending things to Brian?
Yeah.
All right, so we'll continue our practice of sending things to Brian and CCing Eliot with copies.
Right, and I'd appreciate if all that email comes to Iviewit.com. And therefore, I have copied records.
Are you saying you only want us to correspond with you via email, not letters, not
No, but if it is emails, Iviewit.com emails. Because that gives me complete copied records on tape backups.
So don't send anything to any of us at a domain name other than Iviewit.com. If you send it an email.
Correct.
Oh, that's the instruction.
Yes.
Correct.
Don't send to any other email address besides one of your names followed by Iviewit.com.
Correct.
Okay. Anything else in addition to those items?
Nope. Steve, I appreciate your taking the blunt end of this. I really do.
Well, I just wish you would,
Well, we freak out a little bit. You know, you can understand that there's a reason to freak. I'm not just making this up. So, based on that, let's try to resolve and move forward.
All right, good evening.